You're listening to the TD Show.
Touchdown Titans! There are no flags on the field! It's a miracle! Tennessee has pulled a miracle!
Broadcast live on the TDShow.com.
There goes Davis! Oh my God! Davis is going to run it all the way back! Auburn's going to win the football game! Auburn's going to win the football game!
2 hours of the best sports talk on the planet. Or at least out of Edmonton, Kentucky.
Batted up. Oh, God! Stokely down the sideline! Can he catch him? Stokely! Wow! Touchdown! Denver! Unbelievable!
Coming to you live, your hosts, TJ and Dan.
Welcome back to the program. March Madness is underway, and Cinderella is in attendance and showing no mercy.
That's a good one.
We will talk about the tournament that was and still is. I have a guarantee regarding Cinderella, the mini Cinderellas, and Dan will provide you with what to watch and inspire your inner chef with 2 minutes with Paula Dan.
Yeah, Paula Dan today is going to be perfect for 2-minute timeouts and things. So we'll get to that. But don't forget, you can still reach us at Facebook at facebook.com/the TD Show. Our Twitter handle is at the TD Show, and you can email the show at mail@thetdshow.com. You can listen to us and watch us live at thetdshow.com on the live feed page, and you can still listen to us at Spreaker.com/user/TD Show. Also available on the Spreaker app. If you're not available to watch us this morning live, I'm sorry, I've got the hiccups. I'm fighting them off.
You're growing.
I guess my gut's growing. But if you're not able to watch us live, you can go back to our website at any time throughout the week and watch our podcast or listen to us. You can still listen to our podcast on Spreaker. We're really looking for your comments and questions on our live feed page and our Twitter and on our Facebook. But what we would like you to do most of all is give us a call this morning. It's 502-509-3190. We weren't able to make it out last week to the Shopapalooza Small Business Expo. So if you're a female caller and you want to call in, we can still work something out to get you a T-shirt.
We'll do something for you.
Don't forget to vote on our poll this morning. It's located on the home page. Here's our poll question. Who is more likely to make the Sweet 16? This is all Cinderellas that we talked about. Dayton, Stephen F. Austin, Harvard, Mercer, or North Dakota State?
Who do you think?
Mercer. I think Mercer has the easiest road in. Dayton, I think, is one of the better teams, though, of those five. But I think Harvard has the easiest road. And I think Dayton and North Dakota State, I don't even know that I'd call them that much of an underdog. I mean, we knew what they were coming in.
I mean, I don't know that any of them, except for Mercer, were real
underdogs.
Yeah.
Right.
I think Dayton, just because I still don't believe in Syracuse. I still believe they can knock them out. But, I mean, I could see all five of them making it. But.
Well, Dayton could beat Syracuse, but do you think that they can? Well, that would put them in the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
I'm an idiot. Okay. Yeah, I think they could all make it. I haven't had much belief in Syracuse since about Christmas. They just kind of went downhill when the new year started.
I don't see Harvard making it. I don't think they'll beat Michigan State.
No.
Besides that.
Yeah, I mean, let's say Stephen F. Austin versus UCLA. That's a winnable game for them.
Yeah.
If they play like they did last night. Let's see. Mercer, I think, probably has one of the easier roads. They're a lot better team than people are giving them credit for. I know you were on this bandwagon last week.
That's right. I told y'all.
I looked them up after that, so I'll give you the credit for finding them. But yeah, Mercer has a pretty winnable game, and Dayton has a very winnable game, I think.
Don't overlook Tennessee, though. Tennessee's playing well.
They have turned it on. They're getting hot at the right time. 3 weeks ago we were talking about whether or not they're going to make the tournament, and they've turned it up a little bit since then. North Dakota State versus San Diego State. I mean, that's a winnable game for them. They beat Oklahoma, who I think is as good as San Diego State. So we'll see what happens there.
Looking at the board here with the bracket on it, aside from Mercer beating Duke, I mean, obviously that was a surprise out of those, but none of them else were a surprise. Besides those, what is the most surprising thing that you've seen thus far?
The most surprising thing?
Yeah. One thing that would have to be at the top of my list is Pittsburgh beating Colorado by 30 after I mean, we really didn't know who Pittsburgh was. They'd lost to Syracuse
and
Duke and so on.
But they played good against Syracuse. They gave Syracuse a run. They gave Duke a run.
They beat everybody they were supposed to, but then they lost to everybody they were supposed to, and you weren't real sure what they were.
Well, I'm going to go outside the box a little bit and tell you what, my God. Nobody can hear me.
Oh, it looks like your battery's dead. Here, let's share, Mike, for the time being.
I guess if you haven't been hearing me, but what we're talking about.
It must have just died because I could hear you in my ear until just then.
Okay. Well, look, going outside the box on what I think is the most surprising thing, the technical fouls that we've seen called. We had a technical foul for a player not being in the book. Then we had a technical foul for someone dunking in warm-ups. I mean, this is the NCAA tournament. You got to know this stuff going in.
I mean, both are unbelievable. I thought even more surprising than that was Nebraska's coach getting threw out. He got the technical early in the game, and then the shot clock stopped working, and he got out the coach's box trying to tell him that the shot clock was, instead of listening, they just threw him out. He's gone.
Yeah, there must have been some kind of a meeting with the officials because there have been a lot of technicals that were, they were borderline. There have been a lot of fouls that were borderline. There have been a lot of offensive fouls that I didn't agree with, and a lot of touch fouls. I don't know. It's been a highly officiated tournament thus far.
Yeah, the EKU and Kansas game and the Oklahoma State and Gonzaga game were almost unwatchable. I believe the Oklahoma State Gonzaga game had 60-some fouls, most in the tournament since like 75. Just absolutely terrible. It was more of a ref show than anything else. And you knew going in the way that Oklahoma State played that if it was going to be called like that, it was going to be bad for them. And during that game, I'm not sure if you heard it or not, but during the broadcast, the announcer, he first talked saying that they were playing the Hack-a-Shack defense, and then he went on to say that they were playing the Hack-a-Pollock defense.
I did not hear that.
Yeah. So, I
can still. The best that I didn't.
You're
hear
still
that.
On. I can still hear you in my ear, and your little thing's red here.
My light's not lighting up down there though. Maybe my light's just out.
Well, I can still hear you, so you're still good,
I'm good
right now.
I can hear myself.
But that guy's probably going to get a suspension.
I'd imagine. Yeah, if you get suspended for talking about a player's girlfriend, you're probably going to get suspended for saying Pollock.
He apologized. See,
granted.
Go ahead.
There are other racial words that would have got him suspended faster.
Yeah. Well, I heard him apologize. I didn't actually hear him say it live, but I heard him apologize 2 or 3 times. I'm sorry about those comments I made about so-and-so. I sincerely apologize. Like 2 or 3 times. And I'm thinking, what in the world did he say? And I happened to be on Twitter, and Rex Chapman asked what I just said, saying, I've heard this guy apologize 2 or 3 times, but I didn't catch what he said. Yeah. So somebody replied to him, and that's how I figured out that he said that they were playing the Hack-a-Pollock defense.
But there you
go. The EKU Kansas game, talking about the fouls, I feel like there was an agenda that last 5 minutes to make sure that Kansas won.
It felt like it. I don't know.
I mean, there were some bad calls there that continuously went against Eastern about every possession.
It was if I was Kansas, I would have done exactly what they did, and that's take one dribble into the paint, and you're getting free throws. I mean, you didn't have to attempt a shot. You just had to dribble one step. That's how it was at the beginning of the year with the referees, which I'm okay with them trying to take some of the physical defense out of the game a little bit, but it was a little one-sided. It was dribble into the paint, get a foul, shoot some free throws every single time. Or even if you didn't shoot free throws, if you got a low shot clock, all you had to do was dribble in the paint and you knew you were getting a no shot clock.
Yeah, and something else I noticed, even when teams were running motion and a defender would bump a cutter running through the lane, which is that's what you're supposed to do as a defender, bump him to cross him up, they would call a foul every time.
Yeah, but in that same situation, when I was watching, the thing that we're so dependent on calling these fouls, and there's been so many more fouls called this year, but we're not calling moving screens. Do we not understand what a moving screen is?
I saw 2 or 3 instances where a guy would start boxing out as a player drove to the basket. I mean, that's a moving screen.
Exactly.
You can't box out while a guy's driving to the basket.
And in that motion offense that Kansas runs, it's like a running screen. The guy runs you through a defender. I don't know. If you're going to call it that touchy, when the guy has the ball in his hand, you gotta call it the other way too.
All right. So, aside from all that, any other thing on the board here that really stuck out to you? I mean, Arizona didn't play real well. They only won their game by 9 points, but I don't think either of us are surprised by that.
No, I mean, it's not. It wasn't an upset by any means at all. It wasn't an upset at any means at all, but for whatever reason, OSU, Oklahoma State, did not look like Oklahoma State that we saw towards the end of the year. It didn't look like the Oklahoma State that we'd seen since Smart came back. They didn't play like themselves. They lost to Gonzaga. Now, I know Gonzaga was a higher-seeded team, so we can't call it an upset in any manner, but for whatever reason, I had a lot of faith in Oklahoma State. I actually had them in the national championship in one of my brackets, and
I had them in the Final Four.
They let me down. They didn't play like themselves. Gonzaga came out, and I thought that Gonzaga was a way overrated team. I wasn't really even sure that Gonzaga deserved to be in the tournament, let alone be an 8 seed. And they came out and won. You know, we talked about a few weeks ago how Gonzaga would make the tournament and would be seeded high because they were going to win their conference championship. But of the teams they've played this year, you know how many teams they've played that are in the tournament? One, BYU, who lost to Oregon. They were a 10 seed. The only team they played in this tournament was a 10 seed.
And got beat to death.
Yeah.
21 points.
And they were seeded in 8. They were seeded the same seed as Kentucky, who obviously has lost 10 games. But, I mean, a far more imposing team than – and if they make the argument – now, they made the argument a lot of times that they were using strength of schedule and which teams got in and which teams didn't. And I have no idea how you put Gonzaga in 8 seed. Now, they came out and shocked me. They beat Oklahoma State, who I thought would run all over them, would just physically dominate them.
Well, the refs kind of helped their case in that aspect.
But I don't know. I don't know about that one. Watching us on YouTube later, or if you're watching an HD podcast later, you might have missed part of that. I don't know what happened. Was it not recording?
Yeah, I think somebody hit the wrong button instead of the record button.
What button did I hit?
I'm not real sure.
I hit the big button on the right side, silver button in the back there.
Yeah, that's it.
It beeped.
I don't know.
Is the memory card in it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, anyway, we had a week off.
Yeah.
TJ's brain's fried. He's been having
rusty.
some late nights. Let's talk about it. We hadn't let everybody know. TJ here is a daddy now. We've got a new member of the TD show crew.
That's
Bailey
correct.
Marie Morgan, who's in the other room.
Weighing in at 7 pounds, 8 ounces, 19 inches.
What, 152, 151?
151 in the afternoon. Born at 151 in the afternoon.
Last Thursday.
That's correct. A day after my birthday.
Yeah.
Good birthday present.
He almost made it, but
Almost. She almost.
shares a birthday with our guest that we're going to have on this morning's son, Jax Allen.
That's correct. Speaking of Jax Allen, he had Eastern Kentucky in the championship
game. Yeah.
So that game last night probably hurt his bracket just a little bit. Something else that sticks out to me while we're still here on the board is every 12 seed should have won. I mean, North Carolina State was up 16 with 6 minutes left and had every opportunity in the world to win. So from now on, just pick 12, all 12s every year.
I always make it a point to pick 2 12s because a 12 always upsets the 5, so I always pick 2. But
at
this
this point,
3.
if 2 are winning every year, you might as well pick all 4.
Yeah, with 3 out of 4 this year, St. Louis was the only one that ended up winning, but they should have lost. St. Louis should have lost. I had North Carolina State winning that game.
Yeah, likewise. I had them all winning except North Dakota State. Obviously, I should have had them too.
Yeah, I didn't have North Dakota State winning. I had Oklahoma State playing.
Well, speaking of your bracket, share with us how many you have correct.
It's not good. I had 22 correct.
You have 22 correct. So, of the ESPN brackets, that would put you in the 37.3 percentile.
That's probably about right.
Of brackets.
It's only going to get worse.
Well, mine is sure to get worse. But at this moment in time, today, I have 26 games right, which is 97.7th percentile, which is pretty good.
That's pretty good. After the Oklahoma State loss, not Oklahoma State, Ohio State Dayton loss, I think less than 20% of people would pick that one. And I think only 16% of people would pick Harvard, which are some of the least surprising ones. So, I mean, if you got either one of those, I mean, you're in the 80th percentile probably.
Got to Harvard, didn't get to Dayton. But, I mean, I still don't consider an upset just because I didn't pick them. I mean, I knew either team could win the game.
Right.
And, I mean, it was like that with about every game till you get to the 3 seeds, I guess, even though Duke was a 3 seed.
Yeah. Looking at the UK game last night, I thought
not near as close as the score.
Oh no! Well, the last minute.
They tried to
Kansas
give it away
State
there
hit
at the
some
end.
threes. Yeah, and they turned it over a few times. But I was very impressed with the defense that Kentucky played, which is something they haven't really done all year. They've just kind of been let the other team score, and then we'll run it and score. But they played very good defense, held Kansas State to their lowest point total of the year. And this was a team I was kind of scared of. I thought Kansas State had a good chance of beating Kentucky in that 8-9 matchup there. I think that if Kentucky played well, they didn't score a lot of points, but they didn't have to because they slowed the game down, which is something they've been unable to do all year. All year they've been a run out and fast break type team, but they were capable of slowing it down and grinding them out.
Did you see the replay of the Harrison arm?
Oh yeah, I thought it was broke.
You think he'll play?
He looked fine after the game. He was using it.
I
think he just hyperextended it. I don't think he tore anything out.
I know. It just seems like that would have an effect on your shot.
Well, he only shot it 5 times during the game, which is about normal. So as long as he can pass it, we're good. And him not shooting it might be a good thing.
Speaking of trying to give it away at the end, the North Carolina Providence, the end of that game, Providence had about 3 possessions there right at the end where they just handed North Carolina the ball and said, look, we don't want it.
And had a wide open look at it to win the game at the end and lost.
We're just like, we come this far. We're good. You go ahead. You got it from here.
What about the Stephen F. Austin 4-point play?
Oh, man.
To tie the game. What about that?
I needed that to stay alive moving forward. I got them in the Sweet 16, so I was happy as could be. I couldn't believe it. They were down.
That's probably the best play of the tournament so far.
They were down 7 or 8 with like 40 seconds left and turned it around. And they
were down 4 at that point. That point tied it.
And that guy he ran over him with his body. I don't understand how you do that. I realize he was a freshman, but I don't have any idea. I can understand maybe if you just get him with the end of your finger at the top of the shot, but to just run over him?
If you're going to run over him, you're going to make sure that you hit the ball. If you just want to foul somebody, if he's a bad foul shooter, whatever, you want to make sure that he doesn't hit the shot if you're going to foul him on the 3-point line.
Just a bad decision.
But it wouldn't have been terrible if the shot hadn't went in. You got less than a minute. He's got 3 points. I can't win the game with those 3 points. My gosh, if you're gonna, that's
just let him shoot it.
Yeah, let him shoot it.
There was 3 seconds left. Just let him shoot it.
Yeah,
that's it. Just let him have it. If anything, just stand 3 feet from the line and make him dribble around you. Shoot it right at the line. Take extra 3 seconds. He hits it. Game's over.
Yeah.
But looking back we guaranteed 5 teams apiece. If we had to pick 5 teams, that one of them would win the tournament. I picked Michigan State, UK, Kansas, Duke, Creighton. You picked Michigan State, Syracuse, Kansas, Florida, Wichita State. And you remain all 5 alive, and I got 1 down with Duke. And, speaking of the Duke-Mercer game, we haven't really talked about it yet. But, you mentioned Mercer was a good team. But Duke played well.
Yeah.
They shot 15.
Jabari Parker looked good. That's sort of what and Solomon looked like a beast.
Oh,
he looked the best he's looked all year.
Him and Cook both played well. They were 15 for 37 from the 3-point line, had 22 or 24 second chance points. There's not a lot more you could ask for on the offensive side of the ball. But Mercer was just a good team. Ended up shooting like 54% from the field, I think. It's hard to beat a team when they shoot like that.
That's something you see with a lot of these mid-major schools that come into the NCAA tournament is they will shoot the lights out. That's something you have to. I'm sure Coach K knew this and prepared for it, but you have to expect when you play one of these mid-major teams that they're going to shoot the lights out in the NCAA tournament.
And it's kind of
something about the atmosphere.
Something about Rick Pitino, something like he said, he wasn't upset about Louisville getting a 4 seed.
Right.
He was more upset with having to play Manhattan. And I agree. I'd rather play Providence or St. Joe's or somebody that's not a mid-major, a bottom-tier team from a top conference, instead of having to play the best team from a mid-major conference. So, that's just that's got to be something the committee considers going forward. But the other teams that we picked all looked pretty good. Florida, Wichita State looked well. Kansas, maybe not so much. It's when we picked these, we didn't know that Embiid wasn't going to be playing, and that really hurts them.
Mm-hmm.
But Syracuse looked better than they had. Michigan State looked well, and Creighton played well. So
yeah, Syracuse looked the best they've looked in a long time. I expect them to look a lot worse than they did. They've kind of turned it on there. Michigan State looked exactly how we thought they would. Florida looked how they thought they would. Wichita State. Now, we hadn't really seen them play anyone. We still haven't. Cal Poly.
we will know tomorrow.
Cal Poly, is not the top-tier team.
I tell you what, they look like the best 13 and 19 team I'd ever seen in that play-in game, though.
Yeah, oh yeah, they did look good. But Wichita State came out and they looked really good against Cal Poly. I mean, they shot the lights out.
Really
They're
athletic.
They're quick. Yeah, so they looked a lot better than I anticipated. And I have watched them play this year a few times, and they looked good. I mean, they're fired up. They know what's at stake. They've been to the Final Four. I do think that they're going to struggle with Kentucky. If we want to go ahead and look ahead.
Yeah, let's look at the games upcoming today. This week we'll start with Wichita State and Kentucky.
I think that Wichita State is obviously a better shooting team than Kentucky. I think Kentucky's sheer size. Wichita State has a couple big men inside that they rotate out. They don't have a lineup of multiple big men like UK can put in. They can put in a 6'7", 7', 6'8", lineup all at once. And I think sheer size of Kentucky is going to cause problems for Wichita State. But like I said, Wichita State can shoot the lights out. Their experience, it's going to be a good game. It's going to be, you're exactly what you look for when you think about an NCAA tournament game. An undefeated team coming in, number one team preseason, had some struggles all year. Probably, without a doubt, the most talented, if not the most polished team. Kentucky's one of the most talented teams in the country, just not the most polished or basketball IQ teams in the country, versus a very high basketball IQ team. Very, senior laden, good leadership, high level of polish, smooth playing team in Wichita State. So we'll see what happens. But I think the sheer physical ability that UK has, if they come to play, now if their size and their strength and their talent won't mean nothing if they come out flat. But if they come to play, I think it's going to be a good game. If they don't, Wichita State playing how they did 2 nights ago could beat them by 20 points.
You tell me that the NCAA wasn't trying to sell tickets and get ratings with this side of the bracket.
I guarantee it.
The 40-0 that is and the 40-0 that was, and then UK and Louisville, and then potentially what would have been UK and Duke. I mean, they had ratings out the wazoo in this bracket.
Yeah, if you look at who is in the University of Kentucky's bracket. UK Louisville, it could have been UK Duke, it could have been UK Tennessee, it could still be UK Tennessee.
Yeah.
Of course, the undefeated Wichita State team.
I'm surprised that they didn't put Nova over here and put Michigan over here with Michigan State and try to get them together.
Yeah.
Because it's blatantly obvious what they were doing with this bracket over here.
Yeah, if you look at it, they put. I mean, they've got Syracuse and Florida, who are the last 2 number 1 seeds in a bracket. Then you've got your Virginia bracket, which is just kind of a garbage bracket a little bit, and then you've got Creighton, and who I thought was going to be good in Oklahoma State, and other than that, that's kind of a garbage bracket too. You look at the top right, top left, and the bottom right, and that's where pretty much all your talent and all your power teams are.
Yep.
So I don't know.
You got to worry about Florida going up against a Pittsburgh team that just won by 30 points, though. I mean, we know Florida's good, but we don't know what Pittsburgh is. That's the thing,
right? And then after that, I mean, you've got an opportunity that you could play Dayton or Kansas, who are playing exceptional right now, or Syracuse, who has shown that they can be the best team in the country if they play, but it's kind of fell off. I mean, that's a hard bracket to get through, and I think the Wichita State is the hardest or second hardest bracket to get through, whereas it's very possible that a mid-major team or someone, any one of these teams in these other 2 brackets can win it. I mean, Virginia's pretty good. Michigan State, who I think will come out of that bracket, obviously is good, but they're a 4 seed. Anybody in that bracket can win it. I have no idea what's going to happen in the Arizona bracket because I'm not sold on Arizona. I'm not sold on Gonzaga. I like Creighton; they could come out of it. Wisconsin.
I mean,
hasn't been Wisconsin.
Any of those teams could come out of that bracket.
Yeah,
any single one of them.
The West is, I don't know.
And if Florida gets knocked off, any one of those teams could come out of that bracket. I mean, I can't imagine Kansas without Embiid making it very far. But
no.
If Florida gets beat, then that one's wide open.
And, Michigan State, unless they do something stupid or unless Virginia starts playing out of their mind, should be able to come out of that bracket. So
you got to figure Michigan State or Virginia won. I mean,
Yeah.
Villanova hasn't played real well
No.
towards the end of the season. UConn hasn't played real well. They just barely got by St. Joseph's. I mean, North Carolina got hot, but then they had to have the game handed to them by Providence. So
that's how they've been this year, though. North Carolina's been streaky within games. I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen in that bracket.
me neither. But when we come back from the break, I will give you strong words from a manly man, a guarantee regarding the remaining Cinderellas that are in the poll question. We'll give you a poll update when we get back. If you're not watching us on the live feed, go over there and check it out. You can watch us as you listen to us, opposed to just listen to us on Spreaker. You should be able to do it on your mobile devices as well as your laptop, too. We'll be back in about 5 minutes.